Hi guys, this is just linked onto my last video on child language acquisition, and this is just a bit more on Skinner. If you need me, it's at Stacey on Instagram, or my website is there, www.stacey.co.uk. Just as I say, the last video was just something quick to introduce you to our theorists, and now this is just a little bit more detail if you like. Skinner then believed in behaviourism, alright? So this idea, as I said in my earlier video from Skinner, is that children learn instead of, so nature versus nurture, isn't it? And he's talking about nurture, that children will learn from those around them, particularly the imitation of adults. So that's your behaviourism. And he talks about positive and negative reinforcements in terms of how a child learns and develops. However, that being said, the imitation of adults has its own limitations. So naturally, a child, when they start speaking, will be positively reinforced by their parent, of course. So they think, that's right, I've got to continue to do that. Much like if they are sanctioned or punished in some ways, very loosely, they are supposed to learn not to do that. Now, the problem with that is that language is based on structures and sets of rules, isn't it? How we function, how we form our sentences so that they make full sense. There is a set of rules about verbs and about nouns and about things like that. Now, a child won't know those rules. So this idea of just imitating the adult means actually it gets to a point where the child can't do that and will make mistakes, and or they just don't understand what they are in turn imitating. And what a child will obviously do is that they will over apply a rule. So, when children say things like drank and it's the wrong word in terms of the sentence, or they will mix up their tenses. So they will over apply a rule if they have been rewarded once when it was correct, and then they will overly use it all of the time. So this positive reinforcement based on the imitation of someone else, in fact, has its own problems, if you can understand what I'm saying. And children will mix up tenses all of the time. And when I said earlier, there's a difference between our speech and our grammar in writing. And actually, you'll see that early on in a child's life that they can't quite get their tenses right when they are writing something. And if you want to argue that's because they've imitated the speech of an adult, then that's actually probably a good argument. Also, a child, if you're talking about imitation, they can't always imitate and copy an adult, because either they don't know what the adult said, they can't mimic those words. I'm sure you've seen children struggling to say words, and if you're saying, well, they've imitated that adult but they can't say that word, then naturally it falls flat, this nurture process, because there has to be some level of the child understanding what it is that they are saying rather than just regurgitating someone else's behaviours. And what you will get is Brown, Kasdan and Belushi in 1969. They argued that actually parents are more interested in politeness and truthfulness than they are in terms of correctness. Now, can I just throw a curveball at you if you're also doing gender? This is really interesting because you get Robin Lakoff and you get Deborah Tannen, you get all of these theorists saying how women are overly polite in conversations, especially if it's mixed sex, and a man isn't. Now, that's interesting because if you're going to take this study of Brown, Kasdan and Belushi, who are saying, well, actually parents are teaching children to be overly polite, and you believe that Skinner's right in terms of the nurture argument, then why is it that boys struggle to be polite in competitive conversations with women? Is that just down to gender, or is that something else? So again, you've got all sorts of arguments being thrown up by Skinner in his idea of imitating an adult. I hope this was useful, guys. Please check out my other videos on Chomsky and things like that. Let me know how you're doing on Instagram, at Stacey Ray, and massive good luck in your studies.